morning, everybody. Welcome to this morning's assembly. I hope you're all well, and I hope that you had a great week last week during half term. Enjoyed the nice weather and spent some time perhaps outside soaking up the sun. I wanted to congratulate you all as well the week before half term when we all did our exams week. The exams were very well engaged in very challenging circumstances. I appreciate that. But most people made a good go of it and engaged with them in a positive way, despite some of the technical challenges and the different situation that we find ourselves in taking those exams. It made me very proud, so thank you for that. And hopefully you'll get some results back from your teachers this week and go through the next stage of that exam process, which is, of course, understanding where your mistakes were so that you can improve moving forward when you answer similar questions in the future. I actually wanted to paint a bit of a picture with you at the start of this morning's assembly that perhaps had those exams as an example of how a minor act can have a massive impact on how things progress. So imagine, if you will, an exam in normal situations, a normal exam week where we're all in our classrooms taking exams under exam conditions with a teacher at the front supervising those exams. And I want to picture your friend who's perhaps on the desk next to you and their pencil drops off their table. Being a good friend, you lean over, pick up the pencil and put it back on their desk. The eagle-eyed teacher at the front of the room sees you putting something on your friend's desk and comes up to you discreetly and just whispers to you that he would like you to stay behind at the end of that lesson because he has suspicions that you've passed something to your friend. So you're a little bit worried about that, and that's normal, but at the end of the lesson you stay behind, the teacher talks to you and you reasonably point out that you were just picking up a pencil for your friend because it had dropped off their table. The teacher, also being reasonable of course, believes you and says that's absolutely fine and asks you to go on your way and enjoy the rest of the day. But that makes you a little bit late. Even though you're a little bit late, you still decide to go to the ice cream van. Get yourself an ice cream. That makes you even later. Perhaps there's a bit of a queue. So you end up having to walk down to the train station late, and that means that you might miss your train, so you start to run. Running down Warwick Road startles a dog on a lead being walked by its owner on the other side of the road. The owner loses control of the dog and the dog runs out into the middle of the road, just where the roadworks are at the bottom in front of a car. The car swerves off the road, unfortunately crashes through the bridge across the railway line, ends up in the tracks on the bottom there, plunges onto the railway line, and a train that's coming through crashes into the car. It got a bit extreme there at the end. I'm sure you'll appreciate that. But I wanted to perhaps consider, in that hypothetical scenario, who was to blame? Where was the blame in all of that? Was it the driver who lost control of the car, causing it to plunge through the wall onto the train tracks deep below? Was it the dog owner for not having greater control of their dog, or perhaps the dog themselves for barking at you running down Warwick Road? Was it you for buying an ice cream even though you knew you probably would be late to catch that train? Was it your teacher for keeping you behind at the end of the exam, making you late for that train? Or was it your friend for dropping the pencil off their desk, meaning that you had to pick it up and cause the suspicion in the first place? So to picture in your mind a still pond and then throwing a stone into that pond, and you will imagine hopefully the ripples that spread out from the point where the stone enters the water. And this is an issue, of course, with that first instant of the pencil dropping off the desk, causing a ripple that then spread out and caused a chain reaction of lots of other different acts, which eventually caused in national media coverage of a train crash at Coventry train station at the end of the exam week at King Henry VIII School. Chaos theory would try and explain the chain of events in my story as an unpredictable and complex event that can happen as a result of apparently insignificant action. These ideas of something significant being caused by a small act are exemplified in what's called the butterfly effect, which was a phrase first coined following the work of Edward Lorenz, who was a mathematician. And Lorenz predicted, or said that he could predict the weather with using just 12 equations. And his equations use various variables, independent variables such as temperature, pressure, wind speed. And what he was saying is if he put the values of the temperature, pressure, wind speed into the equations now, what we knew those values were at the minute, then he could crunch the numbers in the equations, and the equations would predict what would happen with the weather in a day, a week, a month's time. Sounds like a plausible idea, doesn't it? Well, sadly, he went through all of the effort to put this thing in place and put the numbers into these equations, but his equations didn't work. And when he went back to try and find out how they went wrong, he found out that small fluctuations in the values he was putting into the equations at the minute, the current values, had a massive impact on the readings in the future. So wind speed variation of just a few centimetres per second would have a massive impact of us tens of metres per second or even hundreds of metres per second wind in the future. So just a few centimetres per second now could cause hurricanes and tornadoes a week, 2 weeks' time on the other side of the globe. And that's how accurate his current data needed to be. And the word butterfly, or the phrase butterfly effect, comes from the fact that the wind speed of a few centimetres per second can be caused by a butterfly flapping its wings. So if you look out the garden now, you see a butterfly taking off. It's possible, according to Edward Lorenz, for the wind created by that butterfly to have a ripple effect that means a tornado or a hurricane can be caused the other side of the globe in the coming weeks and months. The reason I'm bringing all of this up now is obvious, isn't it? It's relevant to our current situation. There's been a huge amount of speculation as to how coronavirus first crossed to humans, where that stone was dropped in the pond, which caused all of these ripples, which have had such a massive impact on all of our lives for the last 3 or 4 months. Where was the first human infection? A lot of the speculation is centred around a wet market in Wuhan. Was it from poorly prepared food? Was it as simple as somebody not washing their hands before they touched the food that they were preparing? Nevertheless, whatever it was, those ripples started at that point have had such a massive impact. Perhaps that person could never have possibly imagined, or perhaps they still don't know it's because of them that this whole thing has happened. But such small things can have such a massive impact. I want to say 2 things about all of this. First of all, that we can't control, we haven't been able to control that initial ripple. So the event which caused the initial spreading of coronavirus is out of our control. That first stone landing in the pond with these ripples spreading out across the globe is not within our control. But what is in our control is how we react to it. And if we react to it in a positive way, by engaging with lessons, by engaging with end-of-year exams, by following government guidance, washing hands, stopping the further spread of the virus, then hopefully we can get through this positively and in one piece and with minimum impact at the end of it. So please do your best to control and approach our current challenges in a very positive way. The second thing I wanted to explain is that the ripple effect, I've concentrated in this morning's assembly on spreading negative things, but I would suggest to you that it would also work in spreading positive things as well. So why don't we all throw positive stones into our pond and watch the impact of that spreading positively amongst our school community? So speaking kindly to somebody, acting kindly towards somebody, doing something nice within your own home or within your friendship group will hopefully have an impact and cause them to do something positive and kind to their friends. And we can have a positive impact in our community by behaving in a very positive way and taking advantage of this ripple effect. Enjoy the rest of the week. I hope you get down into great routines and regain those routines from before half term. And I hope that your internal exams have gone well and you've got something to celebrate as well as something to learn from. And thank you for listening this morning.